It's summertime. You could say it's a teacher's favorite time of the year. We get to sleep in, relax in the sunshine, read a book, go out to lunch with friends. So much free time. But before you know it, we are bored.
Yeah, we are.
So what do? We decide to teach summer school.
Yeah, we do.
That's what we do. Join us this week as we share a funny misadventure, teaching summer school, and a surprise visitor that made our day a little extra chaotic. Stick around because this is one crazy summer school story you won't want to miss.
Teachers on the loose.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Teachers on the Loose, the podcast where we turn teacher tales into belly laughs and life lessons. I'm Celeste.
I'm Kristan.
I'm Allison.
And I'm Kelsey.
Today, we're sharing the story of how one tiny bat turned an ordinary summer school day into an unforgettable adventure. This is definitely a moment that we didn't plan for. How did we react? Did we keep our cool, or did Kristan completely lose it? And most importantly, what in the world did our students think?
But before we jump into today's episode, we do want to say a thank you to all of our listeners from last week's episode when we were playing rock, paper, scissors. And
Still can't believe I lost.
I know, it's so hard. And how we had so much fun sharing unforgettable experiences with all of our first grade students and with our teacher friends. It wasn't just about the excitement of the game. It also became a meaningful life lesson in sportsmanship, resilience, and celebrating others' successes. Watching our students learn how to handle losing with grace and cheer on their classmates was a reminder that sometimes the best lessons aren't found in a book, but in the moments that we create together.
No.
We had a teacher comment on how she incorporates games into her classroom. When she first started teaching, she was surprised at how the students reacted when they would lose a game, which actually she likes to call a friendly competition. Mm-hmm. She said that there might have been a couple of tears or, angry feet stomping away. Instead of ending the challenges, she decided to continue playing the games, though, because she found it to be a valuable growth mindset lesson in helping students learn how to lose with grace and, pick themselves back up. She wanted the winner to have, of course, their moment of celebration, and for her students to also understand that it is okay to lose and it's, okay to win, but accept the outcome and move on. It's such a great reminder that games aren't just for fun, because in life you won't always win, but how you handle losing can define your success.
Oh, that's such a good reminder. And I love that she brought that up because it made me think of that quote from Charles Swindoll that says, life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react. And so helping our kids learn those life lessons will help them further in life rather than just ending at that game. So
Yeah.
Good job, listener.
Oh, that's so true. I love that. All right, let's jump back into today's episode and how a typical summer school day turned into, quite a chaotic adventure. So I think at some point, all four of us have taught summer school. Is that right?
That is correct.
Oh, yes, we have.
Yeah. So it's, we try and make it fun for the students, right? They're there during their summer and we like to have fun ourselves. And it's definitely a more relaxed atmosphere. Definitely a great way for students to continue working on their skills throughout the summer. Chris and I remember one game we played with our students. Do you remember we had them write their sight words in chalk?
Yeah.
And then we filled up water balloons and had them check the water balloons at the words.
Yes, that was a lot of fun.
See, we like to have some fun during the summer. Well, one summer when Kristan and I were teaching summer school together, and it was at a different school, so this didn't happen at the school where we all met. And it was the week after the 4th of July. And so we had been teaching for a few weeks now, and we were building our small little classroom community with our summer school students. And we could already see them making some growth and working on their reading skills. And we were, really enjoying that time together.
Yeah, we were. Well, let's go ahead and put a pause on enjoying our summertime together and tell about one not so beautiful hot July day where, everything came to a screeching halt.
Why? What happened, Kristan?
The day started out like a typical summer school morning. Everything was fine. We could tell it was going to be a hot day. The sun was shining super bright. And of course, the students were just full of excitement. They always are because they love being at school. And we had a really nice schedule. It was like a half day, so we would just, work in the morning, be off by lunchtime. It was really nice. But this July day has forever left an impact on my sweet, innocent life.
Oh my gosh. Stop it.
I love this story so much because every time I think of it, I just burst into laughing because it's great.
All right.
I'm so excited
well,
for this.
it was about 11:10 a.m. and parents were starting to line up in the parent pickup lane. And one of my students, he was like, "Oh, I need to go get my reading log. It's in the car. Can I go run and get it?" And I was like, yeah, because the classroom door for this classroom led out to the front where the parent pickup lane was. So I was like, okay, I'll go get it. I'll hold the door open for you. And I watched him run and grab it. And then he's running back to the classroom and he points to the ground and says, "Look." And I turn around and look, and on the ground is a ferocious, deadly, tiny little bat.
He was not ferocious. Not ferocious at all.
Yes, he was. He was trying to make his way inside the classroom.
Wait. He's on the ground and he's trying to make his way
No,
into
he was not. He was just sitting there on
No,
the ground.
he was crawling with his claw hands into the classroom. Yes.
Did he have fangs too? Was
Yeah,
he
they were like
hissing at you?
ferocious and huge and scary. I scream, of course, but I might have screamed really, really loud and maybe lots of times because all of a sudden Kelsey, who was in the classroom next door, comes rushing in to see what happened.
Yeah.
Did you think she was like in grave danger?
Yes, I was really worried because I just hear this really loud screaming. So I run next door and to see what is going on. Like, why would she be screaming like this, right? So I run in, and what do I see is Kristan running. And then what do students do when you scream and run?
Well, they do the same thing.
Yes,
Yeah.
students will always match your energy. So this is what they did. They just ran and screamed. And I was like, oh, what is happening? And where do they go? Well, they go into my classroom next door. Kristan and the kids go screaming into my classroom. And so what do my students
Wait,
do?
did the bat make it into the classroom?
No.
No.
Okay. You didn't actually
No.
crawl in.
No. But
And
now,
how far away was he? Like 30 feet?
stop. He was like right next to my leg.
He was not. So my
Was he crawling up your leg? Is that what was
I
happening?
mean, it probably happened. I don't know. But yeah, Kelsey's class, we're all in your classroom
Yes.
screaming.
They're all screaming. My students are screaming now. No one knows why they're screaming. Just everybody's
Joined
screaming.
in.
And I'm like, what is happening?
Oh my gosh. Well, I don't even remember saying words, but Kelsey, she figures it out. She goes into my classroom, scoops the bat with a piece of paper outside of the door. I mean, I guess it really wasn't even inside the classroom. She
wasn't
just
close
shooed it
to
away from the door. Oh, so yeah, we're all probably still screaming, but the look on Kelsey's face, I could tell she seriously had an instant headache. And the really bad news too is I was screaming so loud, then the admin from the regular school came in because it was new student registration day.
No.
So yeah, and we were close to the office. We were
Yeah.
just a few classrooms down. New parents were sitting filling out their paperwork and yeah, so their admin came to see what was the matter and what was, why was there so much screaming?
Yeah.
Kristen's like, I got attacked by a bat. They're like, no.
No.
Actually,
you didn't.
not what happened.
Okay.
No.
Okay. So Kelsey gets the bat out,
Yes.
and then everything was good. Like you carry on with your day. You go home. What happened then? What?
yeah, so
This
summer
can't
school.
be the end of the story.
No, I wish it were. This is that part was embarrassing. Well, it gets worse.
Oh, no.
So
This is my favorite.
So I go home and I'm just sitting in my kitchen, just staring at nothing because I'm so traumatized. And I might have called my husband to tell him what happened. And I also might have said to my husband, and I have a doctor's appointment because I looked down at my leg and there are some bumps and marks
Stop it.
on my leg. I think I might have got bit by the bat.
You thought you got bit?
I mean, I didn't feel it, but there's marks on my leg. So I started freaking out again. So yeah, he took me to the doctor.
No. No. You seriously went to the doctor for
Sure
this?
did.
How did they react?
Sure did. So, I've been going to this doctor for 15 plus years. So they know me, they know my family. And well, the doctor was super nice. He was very serious, looked at my legs and was like, yeah.
That's what he gets paid to do.
Okay,
inside, he's
Kristen's back.
what?
Making a mental note, like, ooh, let's keep an eye on this
I
one.
want to see Kristen's medical file.
The nurse, she couldn't keep it together. She was dying of laughter. And you know what? I could not blame her. I agree. I mean, I was acting pretty crazy.
So what did the doctor actually diagnose you with? Did he say, yes, you got a bat bite? Or was he like, we're just going to keep an eye on this one, Kristen?
He was like, I think these are old bug bites. I'm like, yeah. Yo, it was the 4th of July last week and I got eaten alive by the mosquitoes. You're right. I think those are just mosquito bites.
Mosquito bites, bat bites,
Yeah.
I mean, in all seriousness, I'm glad that you're okay and that you weren't actually bitten by a bat that was 30 feet away from you.
Yes.
But I am
we are grateful.
super curious. How did summer school the next day go?
Well, I had to explain to my class, your teacher probably reacted a little too far to the extreme. They just laughed and then they said something that I think I feel so bad about. They're like, you were so scared that you pushed, I say gently, moved. No, they're like, you pushed so-and-so out of the way, a student. Yes. The student that ran to go get his reading log, well, I saw the bat and he was in my way, so I gently moved him out of the way.
I'm sure.
Towards the bat.
I don't remember.
You moved yourself out of the way and the child towards the bat? Is that
No, I didn't do that, but I did push a student out of the way to save myself. Yeah, I felt so bad. I told his parents, they laughed. Everything was good. He didn't hurt himself when I gently moved him out of the way. Don't send emails. I know it was wrong. I would never do that. I mean, well, shoot, no, I will do that.
It's all good,
to save
Kristen.
myself.
I mean, it's all good. I'm sure we've all had moments where we've had to do better and just not, like save ourselves.
I know. I always thought I would be like, if there's a creature or something like a mouse or a spider, I will save the children.
No, you won't. You never will.
I won't.
You hate all creatures.
Nature. Ooh.
So how did you bring it back? Like, classroom management is such a hard thing, period.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you have a chaotic event that happens like that, how did you rein them back in? How do you recover from that? And sometimes chaotic things can happen in our classroom.
It's usually not bats in the classroom, but you might walk into a chaotic classroom
Well,
every now and then.
Things happen, like fire
Yeah.
drills, and somebody brings in a show and tell that is alive. Yeah.
Well, that day it was lots of screams. We were all in Kelsey's classroom, but she was a calming force, and that helped me also to calm down. And then I was able to get my students back into our classroom, and just having that consistent good classroom management was where we were able to then finish our day and then move on from that.
So, but wait, why was there a bat there?
Just to terrorize Kristen, really. No, just
I snuck it there.
yeah.
Kelsey and Celeste were like,
planned it.
here, watch this, Allison.
We got a great prank. No, I think it was because they were building the neighborhood around that school, and they had cut down some of the wooded area. So,
Oh, yeah, that's right.
yeah, that kind of was trying to find a new home
I remember that.
with Kristen.
On her leg.
Oh,
It's like, there's a nice lady that I can terrorize.
yeah. Okay.
So you don't like bats now, Kristen?
Well, I definitely don't like bats now. The rest of the summer was fine. There were no more bats. All the students improved their reading scores. I didn't push any more children out of the way. The summer school staff, though, had a blast giving me a hard time about that, and they still do. But I didn't scare any of the new families away either. All was good. But I learned that there are some situations where I need help or I need to be saved by someone else. So thank you, Kelsey, for saving me.
Anytime, I got you.
I think that's a good point, though, that we can't always be the one to save the day and do everything. As teachers, we're used to being problem solvers, planners, the ones in control, and sometimes asking for help doesn't always come easy. And so, Kelsey, you and I are both learning coaches, and I know we have people come to us with a variety of needs, and classroom management is a big one of those. So what are some things that you have told teachers that you find super helpful for classroom management?
Yeah, I've worked with many teachers on class management. I think it's one of the most important things. It definitely has to be in place before you can focus on your instruction. And I think the best classroom management strategies come out of building relationships with your students and offering lots of positive praise to your students, both like whole class and individually. There's research that says you have to have 5 positive interactions to 1 negative. So if you need to redirect or correct your students, utilizing that positive praise is such a simple but really effective strategy.
I've seen so many great ideas for classroom management, and honestly, I think the one that stands out the most as a game changer is when teachers use hand signals. To me, as a teacher, there's nothing worse than being in the middle of a lesson and you're up there and you're doing it, and then all of a sudden you hear those words, "Can I go to the bathroom?"
Yes, that is so frustrating.
So when you teach your students a simple nonverbal sign, they can ask without interruption, and it makes a huge difference in the way your classroom functions.
Yeah.
I agree.
Kristan and Allison, you're both still classroom teachers, and I've walked into your classrooms many times, and you both have great class management, and students are following directions, they're listening, they're being respectful. It looks like everything's just, run so smoothly.
Perfect.
Everything's perfect.
Yeah.
So how do you get to that point, and is it always like that?
Yeah, it's always quiet. No one ever interrupts the lesson. They're perfect little angels, and they follow directions. They're always respectful. But for real, in the real world, the smooth times are what helps me get through the rough times because, they're 7 and 8 year olds. No, so they're not always perfect. They're kids. They have things that come up that, interrupt things like I just lost my tooth, right? Like there's always interruptions.
You say a number. I'm 7 years old too.
Right. Yeah. Or a name. My great aunt's brother is named that too. And I'm like, great. That's awesome. Great connection.
My dog died last night.
Yeah.
Oh,
That always breaks
I've
my
had
heart.
that this year a couple of times.
Yeah. They just, sometimes
It's on their mind.
Yeah. Sometimes whatever is on their mind is going to come out of their mouths no matter what and when.
Well, and also to be clear, great things come from noisy classrooms.
Yes, absolutely.
Doesn't mean you have to have a quiet classroom to have good management, right?
Absolutely. I feel like it's one of those things where it's like finding the dance, right? Like knowing when to be loud, knowing when to be quiet, knowing when to focus on fun, knowing when to focus on academics, all of that. It's just part of the dance in the classroom. So going back to how we do that, I think it starts out with just setting those strong expectations at the beginning of the year and then holding them accountable. So even if it's week 4 and all of a sudden we start regressing, we stop, we practice, we talk about our expectations, and then also talking about like why that's important. I often say to my students, I care too much about you to let you blah, blah, blah. And I let them know that I'm strict on certain things, not because I'm mean, but because I care. Yeah. So I'm trying to help them not just become strong students in the academic realm, but I also want them to be strong students as people and have good, strong life skills. So holding them accountable to the expectations of our rules.
Yeah, you have clear expectations and rules in your classroom, and you practice that with them and have set that for them.
And letting them know, like, it's okay to make a mistake, but we're going to fail forward. And that what that means is to learn from that mistake. So mistakes are going to happen, and that's how we learn. But now learning from it means that we're going to do better.
That is so true, Allison. Yes, it is important to set up day one, your classroom rules, your expectations, along with being consistent and having follow through. I've had some really easy behavior classes in the past, but I've also had some challenging ones too. There will also be days where the students might, be a little extra. That's usually my reminder. It's time to review our classroom rules again.
Can you explain what are your class rules?
All right. Well, I have 5. I call them simple classroom rules. It kind of covers everything. So rule number 1, follow directions quickly. Rule number 2, raise your hand for permission to speak. Rule number 3, raise your hand for permission to leave your seat. Rule number 4, make smart choices. And of course, my favorite, rule number 5, keep your dear teacher
happy. I have the same rules, Kristan.
Yes. And it just kind of covers everything. And one thing that my class, of course, is always working on is raising your hand for permission to speak. And so using those 5 simple rules, along with I have a tally chart on the board, smiley versus frowny. When they are doing something great, positive, tally mark on the smiley side. When the class might be getting really loud, or if they're interrupting a lot, then we'll do a frowny and like a 1 second awe.
I've seen that in classrooms too. They have oh yeah and oh no points.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
I also added one more rule to my classroom this year, which was see a need, meet a need. And it's not really a rule. It's just a like an overview, like a culture that we adopted. And it ties into classroom management because so many times there would be arguments or whatever, like, I'm not picking up that pencil, it's not mine. And so we have eliminated a lot of those little tiny arguments that sometimes throw us off track by adopting that see a need, meet a need culture in our classroom this year. And now I hear the kids say that to each other. Like, they'll be like, can you grab that for me? And they'll be like, they'll be see a need, meet a need, and they'll be like, oh yeah, let me grab that real quick. So they're more apt to help each other out as well. But as far as keeping them on task on a day-to-day basis, I do a lot of the same things as what Kristan does with the table groups, and we get tallies for the table groups.
Yeah.
And sometimes they'll get like different call outs, like, I love how table number 4 is sitting so nicely. And I tied in with my curriculum. So like, table number 4 now became the volcano table if we're learning about landforms, or my mountain table is doing great. And so I can also tie it in with the positive reinforcement as well. And then everybody starts following what they're supposed to be doing because they want to get that positive reinforcement too.
Yeah, I love that. That's such a great way to make sure that students are engaged and connecting it to the learning. And so you had mentioned how you introduce expectations and things at the beginning of the year, but do you only do it at the beginning of the year?
Oh, no. It's a culture, right? Like, it's something that you set up at the beginning so that they know what the expectations are. But as you go throughout the year, it is just embedded in your daily routines, embedded into showing respect for learning, showing respect for each other. And it's a constant culture that is played. And if there is something that goes haywire throughout the year, we stop, we debrief, we talk about it. And we say, how are we going to learn from this? And then we move on. So
just like Kristan did that day with the bats.
yes,
Yeah.
So what do you do with those tallies?
For the tallies on the smiley chart, if they have more smileys and frownies, then they get points on their card, which they can then earn prizes. And then I also have a puzzle where they are building a whole class prize. They don't always know what it is. Right now, they figured it out. We're trying to get like a blanket fort day. So as they're putting the pieces together, they can tell what's
Can
the
I
price.
come to your blanket fort day?
Yeah, I think it might be sometime next week. If they're good. But I think that's why I don't usually have too much trouble with classroom management, because you set up the expectations at the beginning of the year and then you're consistent. And you keep it simple. And the kids at our age, primary, they love to please. And I'm not above bribery.
I think that's right. And so much of it is being proactive with classroom management and staying on top of it before things get really big. And you guys are both masters at that. And so how do you do that?
Some days there are days where you reflect back and think, I could have done that better. Hindsight's always 20/20. I should have done this to prevent that. But then you learn from that, and when you see things starting to go, you like jump in and because we're the drivers of the bus in the classroom, and so the kids are going to match my energy. If I want them to be engaged, I need to be engaged. I need to be leading them into the learning experience with the same expectations of what I expect of them. And
If you scream, your kids will scream. Is that
yeah, right.
They were supporting me because they cared about me. So they were screaming with me.
But that is a good point, right? Like if you're excited about a lesson, your kids are going to be excited about it, and they're definitely going to match that.
Yeah, and when they're excited and they want to learn, then the behaviors aren't coming out. Like when they're just bored out of their mind, they're going to find something to entertain themselves. I think classroom management is such a huge topic because there's so many pieces that go into it. It's not just the reward systems or the extrinsic type things.
Yeah.
Because you have to have that when they're little as they're learning, because that's what they gravitate towards. But then it's slowly releasing those training wheels off and getting them to find that intrinsic motivation of, I want to be a strong student. I want to be ready for what's coming my way. I want to have fun learning. And in order to do fun things, I have to keep my act together. I can't be acting a fool and be able to do all these things. So it's just the whole big piece of everything coming together at the end of the day that makes your classroom run smoothly.
But also, this week was a little bit tough for all of us. We had parent-teacher conferences. We had a full moon. We had Valentine's party. We had a late start. So many
Everything
things.
that could have been piled on kind of came at 1 week.
Yeah. So just having that good classroom management has been so helpful. But then there are times when you kind of just join the chaos, right? And you just kind of roll with it. And it is okay. It is okay to have those moments too.
I think we work really hard to make routines and expectations, but then we also have reality of things are going to go wrong. Things aren't going to be in routine. We're going to have things come at us, and that's life. And so we want to also teach our students flexibility and being able to roll with it as it comes and to be able to be that flexible student as well.
You're so right. Effective classroom management, I think you guys both hit the nail on the head. It starts with building relationships with your students and having that trust and making the students accountable for their actions. And you can't just introduce it at the beginning of the year. You have to go back and revisit those expectations, but ultimately more positive than negative is what is going to get your students where they need to be.
What have you done if you're mid-lesson and something happens with your class management and it's not going well?
Yeah, that happens every once in a while, of course, because the kids might have something going on in their heads or whatever, and they're just acting a little bit louder. Not every lesson is going to just be great, and it's because of the classroom management. You want to sometimes just stop what you're doing. You're going to have to just stop the lesson and address that classroom management, whatever's happening.
That happened to me just a few weeks ago.
What happened?
Okay, well, I was teaching the most engaging math
Of course.
lesson. I mean,
learning lots. Yeah.
everybody I had them in the palm of my hands. And we were moving along, and right then the PE coach came in and said, "Hey guys, I have some news for you. We were supposed to have these exciting guests come to our PE class, and they just canceled." Now, mind you, I had students wearing jerseys of these people that were coming, and like they were so excited.
Yeah.
And right then, I had little boys crying, and little girls were hugging them, and it was kind of devastating news to them. And I knew at that point there was no coming back from that.
Yeah.
I could have said, "Okay, guys, let's buck up and let's move forward." But sometimes you got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, right? And I knew right then I'm going to just stop. We're going to address this, and we are going to change what we're going to do. And I said, you know what? We're going to put them up because they're a well-known athletic team. And so I put them up on this big screen, and we watched some YouTube clips of them. And then I gave everybody a little black Unifix cube, and we played
table hockey.
Table hockey
Yeah.
on the tables,
Yeah.
on the desks, and they had to add up their table. So I
Oh my
incorporated
gosh.
math. They didn't know that they were doing math, but
That's so
I
fun.
said they had to play and then against each other, but then their table group had to add up how many points they had, and then we had to subtract how many more you would need in order to beat them. And so we ended up doing math, but it was just in a very different way. But I knew at that point though that classroom management of the typical classroom management of disruption, like, okay, guys, let's get back on track, just wasn't going to happen. And so meeting where they're at is also very helpful sometimes when those big chaotic things happen.
And I think that's what makes a great teacher, is being able to read the room and being able to read your students and know what they need in that moment to help them be successful. And Allison, that's a great example of you doing that.
Yeah.
You know, I had a visitor come to my classroom. She comes many, many times to my classroom and interrupts my beautiful classroom management teaching moments.
Celeste is looking around the room like, who are you talking about?
In my
Just
class,
want to come say hi.
I don't know if it's a love-hate relationship they have with her,
They love me.
but the minute she walks in, they all kind of freak out. So I've had to have many discussions with them about, you know, when somebody walks in the classroom, you don't need to point them out all the time, but they struggle when it's you.
They do. It actually helped your student teacher the other day too, because I came in and she was teaching number corner and they were all like, bah, 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 bah. And I just ignored, and she was like trying to continue on with her lesson.
Yeah, Celeste did something along with other people in this room right now on this podcast. We'll talk about it at another time, but my students love me and want to protect me and defend me from danger.
But again, we've built that relationship with your class, and they know that it's out of love.
Yes. Yes.
So how did the student teacher handle that? Was she like thrown for a loop? Like,
A little bit.
and I'm not trying to throw a student teacher under the bus.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like,
We've all been there.
But it has taken me a while and learning from my mistakes to be able to say, hey, I'm not going to get them back. So my younger self would have been like, no, I am teaching this lesson. I had them in the palm of my hands and I had control of the situation. I can get that control back. And so I'm just curious, like, how did the student teacher who's still learning, how did she respond to you coming into the classroom?
Well, I think it was also time for us to go to specials. So that was a good transition for her. But I totally agree with you. It does take a lot of time and learning that, hey, you're going to have to join them on this one. You can't really pull them back. And so that does take a lot of years.
But it comes with knowing your students and building those relationships with your students
Yeah.
and as a class, right? And getting to know where they're at. And like Allison, in your story, you knew that was like a really emotional time for them, right? So there's a different way to pivot there versus like when there's some chaos going on in your classroom.
Right. And to also know, like, as a teacher, I think we get in our heads and we're like, oh man, I totally lost them on that. But to be able to see the life lesson that they learned in that, of sometimes life is going to throw a bad curveball at you, and to be able to turn
Or a bat.
or a bat, yeah. And to be able to turn it into something else is a good skill to have as well. And so to model that for them in those rough times, I think is just as valuable as that original math lesson that I was going to teach that day.
But on the other hand, there are times when you do have to actually bring them back and teach the lesson. So,
Absolutely.
you know, like doing a brain break, dance, just even get up and stretch, or even do a strategy where they go talk to 2 different people in their classroom and then bring them back. Take a deep breath.
Absolutely. And that
I always
happens
like-
more often than not.
I always like to do some breathing exercises, like smell the flowers, blow out the candles, or rainbow breathing.
Yes. Or firecracker breathing. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Or fireworks breathing. I think it's fireworks, not firecracker.
Okay, what are your go-to like favorite call-outs to your class to get them back after you have a little chaos happen?
I go, class.
Yes.
Or I go really high, class. And so they match that, and it does bring them back. But I don't know, Allison, I think you have some better ideas.
They match your energy, like with
they
the bat,
do.
with the bat situation. They match
I
your
should
energy.
scream it next time, class.
Yeah, there you go.
Or not.
I like to switch it up a little bit. I'll do chicken wing, hot dog and bologna, chicken and macaroni, chilling with my homies. Shh. Because when you're chilling with your homies, you're chilling.
Yeah.
And so it's just silent after that.
Chill.
And
Okay.
so, and it's a little bit longer one, so they have time to start singing along and wrap up what they're doing and then finish. And then their eyes are on me. Or I'll do Scooby Dooby Doo. And then they
Where
say,
are you?
yeah, they say, where are you? And then they stop, look, and listen. Yeah.
These are great. Sorry,
Yeah,
go ahead, Kelsey.
I was gonna say I've seen some teachers do like a magic word of the day, and so each day they pick a different word. Like today's word is macaroni. When I say macaroni, like voices off and listening.
All set?
You bet.
There you go.
How about macaroni and cheese?
Everybody freeze. Hocus pocus.
Everybody focus. Yeah, those are good.
Waterfall.
Shh.
You guys are so good.
All right, listeners on the loose, it's your turn. This week, we would love to hear any crazy, exciting, not planned moments that made a somewhat typical school day turn into chaos. Was it a bat, a full moon, an unplanned fire drill, or something else? What happened, and how did you get your class to focus back on learning, or did you just join in on the chaos?
We want to hear about it. Tag us on social media on Instagram at Teachers on the Loose or on X at TeachersOTL and send us your story. Who knows, we might just feature you in an upcoming episode.
That's right. Thanks for tuning in. And remember, classroom management is the key to a successful classroom, especially when there are bats involved.
Yeah, for sure. Well, when we set clear expectations and we build strong relationships, we stay consistent. It gives students a lot of opportunities for meaningful learning and growth.
Join us next week when we talk about the day that we all had to learn how to pivot.
Pivot!
Pivot! Pivot!
This is Teachers on the Loose.
Hands on your head.
That's it. Now let's make bread. I don't remember that one.
It's just you freeze.
Oh, you just
put your
freeze.
hands in your head.
Oh.
You just put your hands in your head.
I'm like sitting here with my hands like, what do I do? You just gave me a direction. I don't
Put
know
your
what-
hands on your
You
head.
literally put your hands on your head.